I would like to take a moment before we get into today's main episode and to talk about my sponsor for the podcast. Podmatch is a new podcasting site dedicated to all podcasters. The platform helps hosts get connected with potential guests to appear on their show, as well as allow guests to find podcasts that will give them a chance to share their story. Podmatch offers many tools to help organize your page, from to-do lists to episode planning to potentially appearing on a leaderboard. Podmatch has it all. The best part, you have the potential to get paid. And who doesn't like to get paid from home? I like to. With an easy sign up, you can start connecting with podcasters and guests immediately. I have been a part of Podmatch since the beginning of May, and I have got to say that it was the best decision I've ever made because Podmatch helps your podcast grow. It helps you get connected with people that have very interesting, very compelling background stories that are just waiting for their story to be shared. So if you are a host or guest and would like to start building professional relationships, explore more opportunities, and have your story shared, I highly suggest that you sign up with Podmatch today by going to joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to start expanding your network in seconds. I would like to give another huge thank you to Podmatch for sponsoring this episode. Now on to our main episode, and again, you can sign up at joinpodmatch.com/lethal venom to begin your podcasting journey today. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Lethal Venom Podcast, the show where I talk about anything I want with the honest to God truth, no lies told. Today, I'm joined by Mr. Ryan Miele. He started a fabulous operation and a great tool and product that I think is really well called the Turbobo when he was 18. And he created this as a solution to help kids his age deal with stress and anxiety. For people that are not aware of it, it is the only weighted stuffed animal that has been recognized by the FDA as a therapeutic device, and it has been endorsed by therapists, child psychologists, and educators. Currently, Turbobo is in use in over 350 schools nationwide, with more coming each year. Ryan is dedicated to helping as many people as possible and has recently set up the Turbobo Cares Foundation, where he donates a percentage of every sale to help kids and communities in need. So, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on. As I mentioned earlier, before we got recording, that I read this profile and first loved the name, and then I also loved the whole sole reason for it. So, thank you for coming. I can't wait to hear about this product and for you to share this story.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Excited.
So, kind of before you turned 18, kind of tell me how life was growing up for you and kind of maybe, I guess, go into a little bit more detail about how this invention came to be.
Yeah, so I grew up just outside of New York City, in a small town, and in that kind of growing up through my friends and my community, I saw a general trend of crazy anxiety and stress, and I really point towards my experience in seventh grade, where I had a lot of friends really struggle with mental health to the point where one needed to get pulled out of school for self-harm intervention. And what might sound like a crazy extreme actually happens in an enormous frequency, and the numbers are only going up every year for kids who need to be pulled out for those extra interventions as a result of stress, anxiety, or depression. So, just as a student in this generation going through the ever-growing trend, it really just kind of stuck with me all these kind of years, eventually leading to the point where I was a senior in high school, just about to turn 18, and I said, you know what? I feel like I'm old enough. I feel like I can try to take a stab at trying to solve some of these different kind of social ills and challenges that my friends face and countless others do every day. So let me try to go solve it. And that's what kind of eventually launched this idea and passion project, Turbobo.
So, was this kind of an idea that you had for a very long time, or did it kind of really integrate? Tell me a little bit about how this kind of you kind of approached the idea of wanting to get this product on the market.
Yeah, so it started, like I said, with that my own experience going through school, but what kind of laid dormant as a project I always wanted to help with, but didn't really know how to for all those years. It wasn't until about the summer going into senior year where it all kind of re-clicked in the brain, where I was part of this community group, a local Junior United Way program, as part of a charity in my town, and we hold this event called Together We Shine every year. And it's a prom that we set up for this institution called Ableist, which deals with neurodiverse individuals and residents of from ages about 16 to even like 80 years old. So a real large demographic and a large, amazing organization. And we put on this kind of fun dance and prom to give them the experience that we all remember and love from high school every year. And what happened was that year in particular, there was one woman, I still remember her name, Andrea, who was just completely distraught that her date was late, and she was afraid that her date was showing her up. Like we all have that fear in the back of our minds going to prom. And if you can imagine, Andrea is on the spectrum and she just could not control her hands. She could not control her volume. She was constantly yelling. She at one point grabbed my shirt and very strong woman pulled at me close and said, "If you don't find my date, I'm going to punch you." And as a kind of a junior, just finished my junior year of high school student, a little stressful for myself in that situation. But how I figured I'd get out of it was say, you know what, Andrea, I'm gonna go find him. Let me just give me 1 minute. I'm gonna go find him. And so I ran to the care service provider, asked her, what can we do for Andrea? She's clearly distraught. She's running in circles. We need to help her. How can we help? And their answer was, well, not much we can do here. Just I'd say just give it 15 minutes and she'll calm down. So at that point, it was like, okay, well, this woman's clearly upset. She's just trying to attack me. I feel like we could do a little better than just give it 15 minutes. So that's what kind of launched this kind of trend for where I was like, okay, everybody has anxiety, everybody has stress. There's no real physical tool yet out there that can alleviate those symptoms in seconds. So my mission was how do I create a foundational physical tool that people can use to reduce that anxiety and stress within seconds and give them that support that I wish I could give Andrea and others and even my friends in middle school growing up. Depends on how detailed you want to get into it, but that's eventually what launched this kind of path down towards creating Turbobo.
Yeah, I'm open for you to go on down that path and kind of advance more on it. Kind of, um, what was kind of the first steps in creating the idea? Did you have an idea that you wanted it to be a robot? Was it something that you wanted it to be kind of like a app that people could download? Kind of share kind of what you initially wanted to do at first.
Okay, totally. So how it first started was again, I've just finished my junior year of high school. I think I was about 17 at the time. Really did not know much about the world, to be honest. Still kind of growing up and figuring it out for myself. So the first thought I had was, let me learn more about anxiety and stress and the corresponding physiological symptoms you feel and ways to reduce it. So again, not knowing anything, I simply sent out a large cold email campaign to all the leading psychologist chairs at the top universities in the country. So Stanford, think Harvard, think Yale. All of them got my emails from my high school email account saying, "Hey, I'm a student at a high school, just want to learn more about anxiety. Do you have time to tell me about it and how it works?" And so really, if you think about it, these are some of the leading people in the fields of psychology. They should have no business responding to this random high schooler's email. But to my surprise and my fortune, one individual did. I still remember him, Dr. Oligarvia. At the time, he was a psychology chair of Harvard University. And he responded to my email saying, "Hey, Ryan, great to meet you. Would love to share more about anxiety and how it works. When's a good time to chat?" So we jumped on the phone. He gave me an hour of his time. Again, I have no business getting that from him, but he was as generous as can be. And we talked about the evolutionary disadvantages of anxiety, how it's a flaw in the humans because it's almost think of anxiety as that middle ground between your fight and flight response. When you're faced with something that is stressful or something that gives you that kind of high heart rate or gives you those symptoms, it's because your body's thinking, do I fight this or do I run away from it? But sometimes when you're thinking about something, you can't fight it and you can't run away from it. So your body gets stuck in this anxious state, and that eventually gives you a higher heartbeat. You might sweat a little bit. You might have some fidgeting with your hands. You don't know how to control some limbs. all that is completely natural and normal. But there are tools that Dr. Oligarvia shared that work to reduce those feelings and those physiological symptoms, to trick your brain out of that middle ground anxious state that it finds itself stuck in, so you're able to think more clearly within seconds. That's things like having a weight and deep pressure stimulation. So putting that on your chest or on your lap actually lowers your cortisol levels, lowers your heart rate, and that will trick your mind out of that kind of middle ground as well, of anxiety. Then you have things like different tactiles and fidgets and things like that for your extremities to control and hold. So you're given that sensory input, allowing your brain to focus on that input, again, pulling you out of that anxious middle ground. Then there's aromatherapy. So now I'm kind of tying into what we incorporate into Turbobo here, but the aromatherapy piece is the part that you put like a couple drops of essential oil on a pad, you breathe that in, and that actually releases feel-good chemicals in your brain, also tricking it out of that anxious state. And the final extra thing was temperature change. So imagine putting an ice cube in your hand or on your forehead. That will allow your different neurosystem to be stimulated in a way that forces your brain to focus on what is this cold thing touching me, as opposed to the thought that put you in the anxiety in the first place. So all these are tools, just trying to trick your brain out of that stressful middle ground. And it's a way of addressing its physiological symptoms of stress and anxiety, so you're able to be calm and collected within seconds.
When it came to pitching this idea to um people that were professionals in launching the thing, did you ever think about going on Shark Tank and promoting this product? Did you try to release it just independently? What was the marketing process for you like when coming up with Turbobo?
Yeah, so you could always Shark Tank and big media things like that is always an option, but you run two risks, especially as a startup. Even I know some people even do something called a Kickstarter campaign as well to kind of
Hmm.
get their new products. But all those run significant risks. One is that you're going to get knocked off. That's a risk that you're always afraid of, even if you have patents, which we do, does not matter. If you look online and you look at other kind of therapeutic tools, like there's one thing I think on TikTok now it's viral. It's called the weighted Highland cow, which is just this cute weighted plushie. It seemed to take off, and within literally a couple of weeks, there were eight different knockoffs on everywhere. You could get it for a tenth of the price of the original Highland cow. So you run the risk of getting knocked off when someone thinks you have a good idea. And the second one is that you, like if you go to Shark Tank, you would be giving up a huge portion of your business just as the fact that you don't have a proven concept, you don't have proven customers. It really positions yourself to get just eaten alive in the Shark Tank. I guess that's why they call it Shark Tank. But that's just how it's just the different kind of things that you have to balance. So my go-to-market strategy was keep it all private, keep it internal, don't give away any equity, and bootstrap. If it's a successful product, if it's going to help people, ideally it'll be able to fund itself. So I put up a little bit of seed money, not much, to get it going, and then just started reaching out to different school principals and hospitals in my town, then into New York City, which is the biggest school district in the country. And then it just kind of grew from there, and people started loving it. They kept liking it. They kept telling their other principals, their other friends, their district heads, "Hey, my students absolutely love this Turbobo. You should try it for your school." And it just starts spraying like wildfire as it's successfully helping all these different students and communities.
So when you've released this therapeutic stuffed animal to schools, is it for kids to use it if they really need it, or have you sent multiple prototypes of Turbobo to schools that where they can have more of a, if someone needs it, they can use it, but then if someone else comes in, that they have a backup, or is it kind of you've sent one per school?
Yeah, so most schools will actually purchase anywhere between 25 and 150 turbobos for their school. So it might seem like a very large number, which it is, but what they do is they have a turbobo in every single classroom of their school. They have multiple in their support offices. And depending on the size of the school, they have them in as for deans, they have them in all the different kind of areas where students might come in when they're stressed or anxious. But the biggest piece is that they're in every single classroom because they're used not only as a student intervention. So if a student is has maybe too much energy one day or is acting out or is just incredibly stressed and anxious, you don't need to necessarily send them out of class or out of school to go see a counselor or a social worker. You can instead, as a teacher, give them that 2 minute to 3 minute break with your classroom Turbobo, allow them to reset and regroup, and then they are able to come back to be productive members of the class. So it's really working to limit that time students are out of the classroom, as well as student kind of disruptions in the room. On the flip side of why it's so big in the classrooms is that it's used proactively and as a tool to actually improve student test scores. So you might be thinking, how does this correlate at all? But if you go back to school, and I myself am still in college, I still get some learning anxiety. That feeling where if you try to learn something new, you kind of tense up, your brain might shut off a little bit, might feel like you're lost. That's completely normal. But as now schools are using Turbobo as a tool for students to have on their lap as they're paying attention, to sound out that new word or doing that math problem, whatever it might be, it's working there to reduce that learning anxiety. And we've seen drastic improvements in student test scores as a result.
What's been because you kind of wanted to keep this a secret from people so that this kind of idea didn't get leaked out into the world where someone could take this idea and try to make it quicker than you could. When how difficult was it trying to hide it from people about what you were doing? And did you get help from school leader? Because some schools, I don't know if everywhere's like this, but my school district had a tech school where it was someone could go and if they wanted to do business, they had based classes like computers and all that. Did you have to were you able to kind of work on it for like say for like a school project and kind of use it as kind of a school project, but it was actually something that you wanted to work for, or did you have to hide it from people that you were close friends with?
So I would always share it with my friends and family. Those are not the guys I'm worried about for jumping on it. As far as doing it as for school credit, my district did not offer anything like that. The first time I actually am receiving credit is this semester, so this fall for it. It counts as one class at Brown University where I am. But before that, this is entirely outside of school and extracurriculars as a real passion project of mine, and just really wanted to push out to make sure it did in fact work. There was a market that it was helping, i.e., schools, when I first launched it. And once you have those assertions proven, now the word can be spread out far and wide, as now there's patents, there's correlating instruction, SEL curriculums now schools are using that has Turbobo at the center. So it's now a very integrative system that can't be copied or replicated if you tried. But at those very early ages, just as you're testing and trialing, definitely kept it in a closed circle with the friends and the family and the few different schools and districts I was talking to pilot it.
Did you expect this to really take off like it has, or did you expect it to be like any other business? It would take years to really get off the ground.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I'm more of a spiritual believer, I'd say. So I always had a feeling in the back of my mind saying, I like as soon as the first data came back. So we did a 3 month pilot with 500 students, in different schools across kind of my town in New York City and Connecticut. And we just said, try it out. Let me know how it works. The data that we got back was actually insane that you would have things like 98% of teachers who used it noticed a significant improvement in their students' behavior. You saw anywhere from 47 to 63% of teachers saw drastic game-changing improvements in their test scores as a result of using it. And if you think about a school and how different everybody is and how different this is like the classroom environment is, that's a pretty exceptional number and it's unmatched. So once I kind of got that data back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I thought this would be helpful, but not this helpful. This is insane. Then it was kind of like, I think this is a game changer and a cost-effective solution for school districts who every year spend tens of thousands of dollars trying to get student supports for their students. Now they can have it for $85. So that's kind of the premise of it, and really I'm excited to see how it keeps going. But I think back in my mind, I always thought it was gonna be a success. If you ask my parents back when I started, they'd say I was crazy. So it's really up to you.
Well, I think it's a great product in the fact that it's designated for kids because most people wouldn't assume and believe that anxiety and all this stuff would happen at kids at such a young age, but it does. And I think it has started, it's really increased more now that there's a lot of people that tend to get anxiety when they're 9, 10, 11 years old. So I think it's really beneficial. You said that you had actually had sent it out to about 350 schools nationwide. How far across the United States have you sent the Turbobo to for when it comes to for schools?
Yeah, so that data might be a month old, but I forget what it was. But since then, it's even growing even more. So it's up to about 350 schools in New York City alone as one city. And now there's districts like Chicago Public Schools and Los Angeles Public Schools and even Boston Public Schools who are now rolling it out in pilots to see how it's going to be effective for their communities as well. So it's already serving a couple 100,000 students, but that number could astronomically increase as those are of those the ones I mentioned, New York City, Chicago, and LA are by far the three largest public school districts in our country. So it's insane the upside of how many students can be helped and supported with this tool.
Well, I think with you being able to reach New York City, LA, Chicago, like these huge cities, I think that's a huge milestone. And I think that it just continues. Do you plan on doing it kind of as a worldwide release, or are you planning on keeping the business within the United States or in North America?
I definitely am interested in bringing it everywhere around the world. There was interest from a UK distributor a couple months ago to bring it to UK schools and things like that. It wasn't the right timing for that just because we don't have the infrastructure set up to go outside the US right now. But
Right.
it definitely there is a need. There's a need everywhere in the world for something like this. And it's just a factor of getting it to them at a cost-effective price that makes sense and you can scale it to help as many people as possible. So the plan is to probably stick with the US for the next couple of years, really cement the footprint in these various cities and communities, get that backing, and then look outside the US to help just as many people as you can.
Now, are you planning on keeping the Turbobo used for hospitals, for schools, or can people down the line order it for personal use, whether they have maybe a parent has a child that has depression or anxiety that needs one, or someone that has autism that could help them? Do you plan on having it be distributed in stores?
Yeah, so it probably won't be in brick and mortar stores per se, but it is currently available online for direct purchases. So if you are a parent and you think you have it for your kid, if you're an elderly, or you want it for grandma, you want it for yourself even, we get a lot of purchases online, direct to consumer. So you just type in turbobo.co and it'll take you right to the shop and you can order anything from there just as a factor of schools and hospitals are by far the biggest customers and clients of Turbobo, but that's simply because after its success in a school, the school tells the parents, and now almost every kid ends up getting one for home. So it really is a product that is for everybody and highly, highly effective in and not even just reducing anxiety, but improving sleep, improving your ability to do homework and focus. All of it's kind of bundled in this cute little stuffy that is psychologist approved.
Wow, I'm looking on the website at it. It's big. I thought it was just like this little head, like plush animal. No. Okay.
Yeah, think
This
almost
is
like a weighted
actually,
blanket. It's almost like that kind of feel where it covers your whole chest. So it is
oh,
not
okay.
something for the car, but it is something that's gonna you're really gonna feel that impact, unlike other stuff.
Well, and I think that for size purposes, I think that would really benefit because most people, I think it would be hard they could actually hug it or stuff. So I didn't realize it was that big, but it makes so much sense because a lot of people like to have the weight on them and have like something to hold them. I think this is such a great product, and I think it's such, for someone for your age to, I mean, take it, you graduated from high school 2.5 years ago, and you already have a very successful business that's continuously growing at 20 years old. I know, I think that this is such a huge inspiration to young people to know that you can be successful in an early age, and it doesn't have to take to where you have to be in your 30s, 40s, 50s, even before you can get your business off the ground. You can start at 18 while you're in high school and have it. I think this is such a great product, and I think it's, you know, where do you see the future for this? What's some future goals that you have for Turbobo?
Future goal is to just make it more accessible to kids and parents and elderly at home. Right now, it's modeled for large institutions, bulk purchases, community-wide experiences. The big goal is to partially shift now to getting that support. Get the message out there and let families feel it themselves. Because right now, it's being gatekept by schools. If you're in New York City, there's like a 1 in 3 chance that your kid's already using it in your classroom, but you might have no idea because they're not coming home and the school's not sharing it because they're gatekeeping it as their student intervention tool. So
Mm.
really trying the next push is to make this as accessible and spread information about how it's useful at home, even beyond its uses in your schools, to really give you those exceptional benefits and supports that you can carry for life.
Do you plan on in the future maybe making it to where people can have a customizable one where they can customize it to maybe to where they could have it as like a support animal from a pet that they had in the past and kind of be resemblance of that? Do you have any kind of ideas on the design side
Yeah,
about what you want to do?
we might be adding some cats to the line. It is right now Turbobo, just the dogs, because it
Mm.
is modeled after my personal dog named Turbo. So it is his coat like that. If you look at a Turbobo, you see that weird kind of looking heart on the side. My dog Turbo has that heart on his coat. So that was my kind of childhood support dog growing up. So that's why it looks the way it does and is what it is for now, but we do see a vision to add something like cats, if you prefer. But as far as customizing it goes, probably not to create your own, but we would have something where it's like you can have like a collar almost for your Turbobo or your cat. At that point, you can name it something that means something to you.
Well, I think that this is such an awesome project, and I think it's such a great thing, and I know this will help so many kids, and I'm so happy that it's taking off the way it is. You kind of mentioned it earlier, but again, feel free to share with my listeners where if schools are listening to this, that maybe a school leader's listening to this and they think that this would be a good product for their school district and whatnot, where can people go to request Turbobo and maybe could, especially for school leaders, where they could probably get in touch with you on possibly getting it to be in their school district.
Yeah, so if you're a listener and you're a teacher, you're a principal, maybe you're a parent and you're on some PTA or you're on the board of ed, whatever it might be, or even you just want it for yourself, you can all go to Turbobo, spelled T as in toy, Urbobo .co. So turbobo.co. When you get there, if you're an individual, you can purchase it directly there. It'll be shipped to you. If you are interested in doing it for an organization, maybe you want to make a donation to a hospital or to something in your local community to bring turbobos there, you can go to the contact us page and you simply put in a message with your email. and you'll get a response from me in literally probably 10 minutes after you send it. So, great way to reach out with any specific inquiries, any bulk kind of things like that, or any questions at all. That's the way to do it.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate you so much for taking the time and presenting this product with my listeners. I think it's fantastic. I'll put all of his information and links in the description box below about where you can find it, and if people would like to maybe request one or have one for yourself, the information will be there for you to be able to get your own Turbobo. And then I'll put the social media links down there as well. If you would like to say followed and follow them on social media as well. Feel free to follow me on social media as well. Instagram and TikTok at Lethal Venom Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube as Noah's Podcast on there. And also listen to Lethal Venom wherever you get your podcast from. You can subscribe to it wherever you get your podcast from on all major platforms: Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Pandora. It's everywhere, so feel free to follow the show so you get notified when new episodes come out. Thank you to everyone for tuning in today's episode. Hope you all have a great rest of your day. Be safe, and I'll see you all in the next episode of Lethal Venom.